I was looking the other day, and my 4-year anniversary is coming up soon, so it must be 3.5 years,
Yeah.
something like that.
I think
Yeah.
that honestly that lines up pretty well.
It was shocking though.
Yeah, yeah.
Threw me off.
I just actually hit my 4 year in April.
Oh,
So we have very
congratulations. Similar timelines.
yeah, similar
Yeah.
timelines. Yeah. Well, yeah, Malena and I have been working together for years, a lot in the digital equity space. Suma has so many and has done so many things, not in the digital equity space, but also kind of outside and how they intersect a lot. So could you tell us a little bit about who Suma is and how digital equity fits within Suma?
Yes. So Suma is really rooted in building digital platforms for communities who historically have not been built for. So if we look at what the industry of technology has done, it's really building to generate income and monetize everything. And if you can't participate in that economy, you've really historically been left out of it. So I think the idea of Suma when it came around was like, what does it look like to actually invest in building platforms, tools, resources for our frontline communities that just have been left out of that conversation? Um, so that's really, I think, what we're about. We build platforms um, to bridge that digital divide. And yeah, I think that's how we tie back into digital equity, aside from like the justice and organizing work that I think is pretty rooted in digital equity. It's like you can't really have one without the other. You have to have that foundation in order to get to actually implementing and utilizing a platform.
Mm-hmm.
And without it, you're not really getting anywhere. Hence why the Digital Equity Act came to be to begin with, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're speaking a lot about, digital platforms. Um, does Suma use a digital platform on its own, as its own, or created a digital platform that y'all use?
Yes. When you hear us talk about our platform, we go back and forth between the Suma app, Suma platform. It's technically not an app because you can't download it, but we do have a platform. The purpose of it was really going back to that question of, okay, like if we're gonna build a platform for our frontline communities, what is it that they would want? What is it that they would need? And you went through a pretty arduous interview process. I want to say this was like 6 years ago. It was before I was on board with Suma. Interviewing folks, and it's like, hey, like, what do you want? What do you need? What are the goods and services that you would be interested in seeing and receiving, and how could a platform help you get there and access those things? And the result of that has been the Suma platform. The conclusion was, okay, like we're hearing that folks want goods and services and they need substantial discount. And often they're already enrolled into their local housing CDC program or SNAP and WIC or any other kind of organization that does like vetting, OHP. And you've already gone through this whole process of submitting paperwork to be deemed eligible. And then you have to redo it again for the next program that you also need help with. And it's time consuming. It leaves so much funding and resources on the table that could be building up our communities, and they're just left there. And so we really wanted to figure out how to solve for that as well. And then the third really big thing I think we also focus on more heavily than other places is privacy. There's so much hesitancy, especially right now in our communities, around privacy and security and really avoiding using technology because of that fear. So it was like, all right, like, how do we solve for that too? And that solution was really cool. That's probably the project I've worked on that I'm the most proud of, was building a privacy policy for and with our community members to really determine how they were going to have their data utilized on our platform.
That's awesome. Where did you how did you go about creating something like that?
Um, well, it started with those initial interviews, I think, where hearing that privacy was such a big concern. And then we had the pleasure of working with this really amazing group called the Ida B. Wells Just Data program. I believe they're out of Princeton. They're run by Dr. Ruha Benjamina or Benjamin, who she's like black Afrofuturism tech. Like she's so amazing. If folks aren't familiar with her work, I strongly recommend like investigating her. She's super formative into a lot of this like whole digital divide stuff, I feel like. And yeah, we worked with this group of students and they started kind of inventorying and analyzing current policies that you'll see. They all have really bad ratings of like what they do with your data. Um, and then we use this thing that another group that I can't remember the name of right now, but they put out basically this resource guide that was really heavily based off Planned Parenthood consensual reasoning. And so it was like, okay, what does it mean to build something that's like consentful, where you are saying, hey, I'm giving you this and in return you get this, and here is this really transparent thing that we're building off of. And so students worked with that parameter to kind of think through what a privacy policy and all the legal stuff that you really have to have looks like in practice. And interestingly, I think the result of that was having something that's really design heavy, like something that you're reading through that's just a block of text. Like no one absorbs that. That's insane. And so yeah, we were like, all right, let's simplify the language. Let's use a lot of imagery and let's break things out in a way that's visually pleasing to people. And the feedback has been really good.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, when we're talking about academic writing, normal, like a lot of the times it's like the smallest font and like it's blocked out, it's huge paragraphs. Like I'm gonna be like, I'm actually gonna be moving on and not reading that. So that's really awesome that.
And then that's how we sign our life away on accident.
Yeah, exactly.
Oops.
Exactly. So we're talking a lot about digital equity here, the work that Suma has been doing. The Coalition of Digital Equity, applied for the competitive grant, the Digital Equity Competitive Grant, that federal grant, where the Coalition of Digital Equity brought in, along with Free Geek in itself, sub-grantees through the city of Portland. Suma was going to be one of those sub-grantees. As we know, it was terminated May 9th. And a lot of organizations outside of these sub-recipients through the city of Portland who are going to receive those funds were in that first round of announcements. And they're like, we're going to get this because they were told they were going to get it. And a lot of their plans, now they had to kind of pivot and let go of people and things like that. What were some of Suma's goals to be able to use that money through that competitive grant that now y'all can no longer do?
Yeah, I think going back to kind of what I was referencing about that foundational work, we have this platform. Folks need to know, the goal is to have folks navigate this in a way that's comfortable, right? But if you literally don't even know how to use your device, don't have internet access at your house, don't have that like digital literacy, like you're not going to use it. And so the cancellation of this act has really taken away that core foundational piece that, aside from impacting organizations, it's just, especially right now, it's like having digital access is so every day. It's basically having access to the world, to economic sustainability, and to take that away from people is a lot. It's insane. And so anyways, back to your question, because I feel like I went on a bit of a tangent there. We had goals of having someone serve as a liaison, especially in North and Northeast Portland. Our offices are over in St. John's, and I think we've served that area like a lot more intimately than, say, other areas of Portland. And part of the work that we're doing with the app is we're in person at markets every day. So we're already having these conversations and helping folks navigate every day, but to do that at a scalable way, to like be like, oh, I'd really want to participate in using this, but I actually don't have a device, and like have the funds to be like, oh, we can help you with that, and we can help you get yourself set up and get access to the kind of resources that Free Geek has with additional curriculum, to translating the stuff that we had curriculum wise around privacy and security. We were really excited about that. And I think the biggest thing that we were also really excited to do was, there's just been this so much funding going into building these different curriculums across Portland, across the state even, and folks focused on different things. And we were really interested in creating another platform where it was like a library of different folks' curriculums. So organizations aren't repeating work, and they can go back and be like, oh, let's collaborate with this organization and do this in like a more functional, possibly easier way. So working with community to get that done was really exciting. And I feel like we're all siloed into our own spaces now, just as a way of conserving resources, and it sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember, I want to say it was maybe even 2 years ago when you were talking to me about having a platform to put everybody's curriculum on there. So the fact that it's been such like a conversation that was going to finally come into fruition of like, wow,
Yeah.
we're actually going to be able to get this done. And then to have that termination of that, like I can only imagine. And yeah, again, we've been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to, I would say, the curriculum that y'all are making, like how many curriculums do y'all currently have?
Um, this work hasn't been funded since that initial City of Portland ARPA
Yeah,
grant,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's been a while. But we had 4 curriculums. The first one was around, I think, just like utilizing the internet to begin with, like how a search engine even works. So getting like to those super basics of like, I looked up igloo, but now I'm getting, like coolers. Like what, how do I functionally do this and utilize this tool, which seems so intuitive, but it's not if you didn't, grow up with it or haven't had access to it. And then layering upon that, we went to security, because I feel like every conversation I always have, it always goes back to security. Like, I don't want to get scammed. I'm scared of having my information on the internet. I don't want to get tracked, so I'm just like not going to use it. And it's like, okay, well, this is how this actually works in practice, and things you can do to protect yourself. And then after security, we kind of layer on that privacy, and it's like, okay, like you don't want your data or information tracked. Like this is the difference between like having something that's secure versus having something that's private. And then the fourth one, oh, I guess we have 5. The fourth one was about utilizing the internet and social media in a healthy way, just which is so prevalent, especially now versus like 2 years ago when
The
we
doom
initially did this,
scrolling.
right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it got even bigger and more serious, and there's a lot more data backing that up than I think there was before. Um, and then the fifth was building digital communities online. So Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, and conversations, how to, especially at the time where a lot of people were still in isolation mode from COVID-19, just building those communities and knowing how to do it if it's something you're interested in doing. Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes down to, grant funding, we're talking about the competitive grant. Are there other sorts of grants that like Suma is kind of at risk with federal grants like that? Or as of right now, y'all are pretty good?
As of right now, we are luckily really safe. most of our funders are local. I don't think we've ever done a federal grant. They're kind of a pain in the butt.
They really are. They really
They're
are.
not the, yeah, it's, I think the amount of like team capacity it takes to navigate a federal grant is often not I know people need to do it, but we've felt like it's not worth it.
Yeah. With the initial plans that Suma had with receiving these grant funds from that federal grant, how are y'all still planning to implement some of those ideas to be able to do that? Or, I mean, we're talking about,
Yeah.
we were just talking about before how y'all are a team of 5,
Yeah.
that capacity building, like how is that?
Honestly, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like it just can't. I will say we wrote in a digital navigator into another grant that where some of that work we could see it like overlapping and tying in, but it's still related to our enterprise and not just directly like organizing and getting curriculum and devices out to folks. So I feel like the impact of what this grant could have been, which is really building out this other program that we have and getting some resources and someone really focused there, it's not going to be that. It's going to be this other iteration that's a little bit more filtered that we created.
Yeah.
But
Which
yeah.
absolutely makes sense. I mean, that grant was for that capacity building that so many organizations
Yeah.
were so like hopeful for. I mean, we have organizations in the city of Portland who were like, hey, you're going to get this money. And then they had to like let people go once it got terminated because they already gone through that hiring. So it's absolutely like so true about the capacity building. One of the things that, you know, Suma is huge about is that digital platform. And I remember last year I ran into you at the farmers market.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, tabling for Suma. How, like, where can people find this platform if it's not like a downloadable app?
Yes, it is app.mysuma.org. If you also go to our website, which is mysuma.org, there's a direct, like the first thing you'll see is the link to get to that because I know that it's a little bit confusing. But you can find us every Saturday at the St. John's Market. So I have my hat on. And then on Sundays at King Market and at Lentz International Market. So we're at 3 markets right now where you can always find us, ask the folks that we have their questions about using digital resources. Our current programming at the market is kind of tapping into the Double Up Food Bucks program that the farmers market runs. So we have a voucher program that we fund to literally get direct resources out to community, as is what the app is intended for. So we have a matching program. For every dollar you give, we'll give you an additional dollar, up to 15, to spend at the market and get more food, local sourced food. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So when it comes to that digital platform, we're talking about digital equity here. At like there or in other places, are you able to show folks how to navigate that digital platform if, you know, they've never really explored the internet or feel that sense of unsafe, like not having that security online? Are you able to provide that for them in any sort of way?
Yeah, you know, it was funny, and I was thinking through some questions that would be asked, and looking through the grant again to like see, kind of review what we lost. It made me think, like, in a way we're kind of doing that. Like every new person that comes to the market, a lot of the time they're not comfortable using it, and we're there in person kind of guiding them through stuff. So it's like real hands-on learning, real life experience, and like utilizing it in a cool, good way too, where you're getting something out of it.
Digital navigation.
Yeah, it's everywhere. So like, yeah, I guess in a way we're already doing that on a very regular basis. It's just less formalized than I think it would have been with this grant. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, being at these markets, being kind of all over, who would you say is like the direct community that, Suma serves?
It's our low income frontline communities. It's people who are really already enrolled in SNAP, WIC, in some level of low income housing, that are looking for these resources and utilizing these programs.
Um, Prior to working at Suma, did you know what digital equity was? And now working in it for close to 4 years, how has that kind of transformed with your work at Suma as well?
Yes, I think honestly, no, not really. I remember prepping for the interview and kind of getting in. I'm an insane interviewer, and I need to research everything. I can't not know the answer to a
Yeah.
question, and so I was like, it really like I was like, oh, like I see how being a California kid and having like my AOL family computer, how much of an advantage that gave me, and then thinking about folks like not having that, having yeah, it was like I was like, oh, like this is completely detrimental to people's like learning experiences, to the economic opportunities they then end up being able to like maybe have or not have. It's it's so integral to our lives whether we want it to be or not. And I think I think the last like year my thought process on technology overall has changed, where I'm really like, to me, digital equity, I think, is being able to access technology for the tools and resources that it is supposed to provide. But it's really about getting your time and energy back. That's the promise that technology always was to begin with to me. And it's kind of like really strongly moved away from that. But it's like, how can we use it to benefit ourselves and then get back to actually doing the things that we love doing the most, which varies from person to person, but like our hobbies, not in front of a screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Suma's been doing so much, amazing, amazing work. What are some like newer things that you are currently in the process of working on? I know earlier, even before this, we were talking a little bit about, the accessibility that Suma's working on. Do you want to maybe highlight a couple things? I mean, y'all are constantly working on things, but maybe your
Yeah.
faves.
Um, I think the most exciting work we're doing is our accommodation work. So, um, we've built this platform. We have this audience, these our frontline low income community in mind, and on top of that, we were like, okay, like we're building this in this way, but who else can we build for who's been left out? And the answer has often been our disability community, where it's like just basic stuff like having your colors be contrasted enough that it's like visually readable to someone who's hard of sight, or being able to like zoom in on stuff. There's so many different things that people just don't think about. Again, back to design when they're creating and building something. And so we're in like our discovery phase right now, where we interviewed 20 different Suma users, asking them direct questions about not only how it is to navigate the platform from a usability perspective, but also like what kinds of services or products or resources would they like to see offered on the platform. Um, and then yeah, we're basically building a plan to get to a plan right now to implement and actually bring and design something for a specific disability community. Not sure which one yet. In 2026, and our partners there are Space, Uprise Collective, Community Vision, Ride Connection. I feel like I'm missing someone. Yeah. And then our other big project is getting transportation on the app. So we have a grant from the city of Portland, PSF, that funds that accommodation work, but is also funding getting access to Lyft and Biketown Lyft/Biketown, I guess, and Lime on the Suma platform. So folks can more easily get enrolled into Lime Access and Biketown's discount for all programming, in addition to the subsidy that Suma will be offering. So folks can get around more easily and quickly. And Lime is accessible now. So if folks are SNAP-WIC eligible, you can enroll into this. If you are a member of a housing CDC, you can also enroll and access free for now and then eventually discounted Lime rides.
I mean, all of the things that you just listed are so many different ways of seeing digital equity. I mean, here we're talking about, the platform. We're talking about accessibility when it comes to, design. Y'all are kind of doing everything. I mean, truly, showing up in spaces, making sure people are able to use vouchers. Are those online, like those type of vouchers, or are they physical?
It's physical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But then the Lime and all of these things also in that digital platform. And then on top of all that privacy aspect, and those curriculums, and I mean, yeah, what aren't y'all doing?
We're all over the place, I know.
Yeah, like truly. And with like such a small team, but truly mighty team, which is pretty incredible. I mean, I remember a couple years ago, when we started working with y'all, like it wasn't pretty as large as it is now. To the fact of doing all like this different programming. How did y'all get to the point of doing all of these things now?
Oh, I think our executive director, he has a lot of experience, and he's just been able to, I think, really vision things out and like help in getting us there. But then the rest of our team is just, I think it's really hard once you like get what digital equity is and like what this gap is and what the repercussions of this gap existing are. It impacts everything from, it just impacts everything. And so people are pretty passionate and are like excited to do this work. And so our team is great. Like we have 2 community outreach folks who are like both at the farmers market, but on point for reach out with our partners and users and community who just do the most. Our communications driver also does the most. Honestly, it's people who are just like not totally sticking to their job title and probably doing too much, if I'm being real.
Yeah, absolutely. What impact have you seen of all of this programming to community members? Like, have you seen or like tracked any data that kind of shows any of that? Or
Yeah, we have 1,600 active users on the Suma platform now, which is really exciting.
It is very exciting.
And of those who have made a purchase, which I can't remember the number right now, but people have saved like 80% on when they would have spent on food and or transportation at markets or via clean mobility rides. So it's like real subsidy and savings that people are getting, which is the point anyways. Like build something and get the resources back out to community.
Yeah. And seeing the fact that digital equity is in every aspect of Suma, even if people really are like, well, how does digital equity have anything to do with that? But as we've chatted for a while now, it's in every single aspect of that work. I mean, y'all are also being digital navigators at, the farmers market, which I think is really, really incredible. You had talked about one of your favorite projects that you've worked on. What would you say as like the organization is probably the shining star or like that North Star that y'all, or shining star project that y'all have worked on in addition to like the platform that you've seen like the most benefit to community members? Would you say it's that voucher program or
I honestly, yeah, I think
yeah?
it ties back to like those are real dollar savings. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our justice work. I think this round of federal funding got cut, but we were part of, or I was part of the work group with Representative Marsh to put together the Oregon Broadband Fund, which it's not the same, but it is at least some level of state funding that can't be messed with by federal funding,
Good.
and cuts to help folks get more affordable broadband access. So,
That's
yeah.
so incredibly important.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can't do any of that work without that broadband access.
Yeah.
Um,
As of yesterday, it got its third reading. So I think it'll pass. We'll see.
yeah. I mean, how long, like, do you think it would still take for it to maybe pass?
I can't. I feel like session ends at the end of June, so we should probably check today, honestly. But I think it's gonna pass.
I
I think
also,
we're good.
I hope,
Yeah.
I hope it's gonna pass. Where do you see, I guess, next steps or the future of Suma, in the coming years, or even, you know what, and not even in the coming years. I feel like that's maybe a little bit in the future, but by the end of the year, like what would you like to see?
Oh, it's so funny you asked that. We were just like trying to plan what that really is, because I feel like we have a lot of plates that we're spinning. I think the big core thing that we're really pushing for is having, aside from farmers markets, like in the winter market, in the winter time, people still need access to food.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how can we get an offering on the platform that does that, that gets people food like year round? And how do we build those relationships with businesses to get them offering that? Yeah.
That's incredible. And again, digital equity for the fact that having folks navigate how to get those resources, I think is so incredibly important, and the work that all of you are doing with a team of 5, but
Yeah.
doing so beyond the work of what 5 people are doing, like that y'all are doing some amazing, incredible things. But I guess to kind of end off, our conversation today, is there anything that you want to maybe tell our listeners or viewers about Suma, or something you want them to leave with at the end of this?
I think my biggest thing is that your data matters. It is something that businesses use to build their empires, and we have let them extract it and take it and monetize it for so little. And to me, a big part of everything that we do that, like you said, all ties back to digital equity is also like your information and your data is valuable and it's yours, and there's ways to take some of that back, some of that control. And like, I hope people get like more curious about these alternative ways of like thinking about their data in the future. I think that's another direction that I'm excited for in our future, in Suma's future. And I hope we get some more dollars to like share that knowledge with community. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you left me with something to even think about. So I hope everybody else leaves with something as well. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for joining us on this episode of deCODE. We hope that you now understand the cancellation of the Digital Equity Act. And join us next time as we talk about artificial intelligence. That's going to be a good one. Don't forget to save this podcast on whichever platform you're listening to right now to learn more about the world of digital equity. Do you have a personal experience you want to share about the digital divide? Leave a comment down below to share your story. I'm Ashley, and I'll see you next time.